Karim is a 24-year-old gay man from East Africa who is currently seeking asylum in Portugal. This is his story.
My name is Karim. A lot of people doesn't know my country. It's a very small country in east of Africa. So I am in Portugal since maybe 1 year, like since last June. And yeah, so I am an asylum seeker in Portugal. And I am a homosexual from an LGBTQ community. And now I'm living in Lisbon and I am working. The home that I grew up, for me, it was some kind of like sadness. I can say that, like a little bit of not really a jail, but in mindset, something like that. So something against everything, like I was thinking, and the childhood that I lived there, like it wasn't the best. So I born in like not big family and not small, two sister brother and me parents. So like my parents, like my family, they are very traditional, very religious. So I grew up in this kind of atmosphere, and always for me, like since my childhood, it wasn't easy because I had some mimi, like the way that I'm talking when I was child. They were always here to educate. How should I talk? What should I say? And not talk like this, like that. Stay with uncles because that's part it's for men, not for women. So I remember till today I had a trouser. It was very beautiful with like flowers and everything, and that I bought from my own money. And my mother took it and with the scissors she cut it because like no, it's for girls. How will you wear this? And home for me it wasn't like a normal thing. Like yeah, the mother, the father, they were always with my big brother because in my tradition, in my family, always man is more important than woman. So this is why my big brother was like the little love of my parents, and I was the one that no, the only one that I was very close in my family. It was my sister. So she was always like the psychologist since always, and every time I was sharing with her. So she was here to like a little bit like motivation to when I grow up in this family, and I am always someone who asks a lot of questions, and I am an Arabic and I can understand the meaning exactly of the Quran. So when I understand the meaning of the Quran and I start asking questions, so this is when the trouble starts. And I was like a child, 10 years old, 11. And for example, when we pray like a Muslims, it's always one sentence, like the people who will go to hell, something like that. And I say like it's not logic, and the answer was like you are denying what God says. You are against God, and I remember that that day my mother slapped me, so to educate me. What happening at home, it wasn't exactly what is happening at school, because when I was at school, when I was child, I had the best marks and I was the first one in class. So it was a little bit too world in my life. So it was like the home and the school. Till now, I can say that the only thing that helped me, really helped me, it was the comment that I was having from my teachers. Like you have always new idea, like always a good comment. Okay, it wasn't like my family. Since my childhood, I understood that I am not like this kind of man who will say, this girl she is beautiful. I remember my big brother had a best friend, and he was handsome, and I loved to play with him when I was child and in the middle school. So, and it wasn't like a normal friendship for me. Maybe it was my first, he was my first love. The feelings that I always had when I see boys, like it was a little bit strange. So it wasn't a normal feeling. It wasn't like a friendship. So of course I was always asking myself, what is this feeling? And so I started to search. I saw that there is people like me existing in this world. And I discovered that there is gays, something called gays. So how I realized that, okay, there is homosexuality. And after that, I realized that it's not a crime. They always say that Omlut or that homosexual at that time, God killed them because they commit a very big crime and something like that. So I don't believe in that. In my country, being homosexual, it's not even, you cannot say it, you cannot pronounce this word. Like it's a little bit like forbidden to be homosexual. The word homosexual doesn't exist in their mouth. It's always like, how can I say in English, like faggots or like very very homophobic words. And even if you are, if you talk like girls, and when someone insults you, like hurt you, slap you, doing something against you, and you cannot go to tell, yeah, like for example, yeah, it's he's homophobic, he says to me something like that. It's the person, the homosexual, it's himself that who will go to jail because he should be a man. Maybe it's the police himself that will be against him and slap him in the office, in the police. When I met one guy, I was in high school, and we were friends. We became friends. At that time, I had to adopt a certain way to talk because, like, when you become very tired of don't talk like that, don't you have to adopt this to live in the society. But Hassan, his name was Hassan. He couldn't do it because it's his character, it's his manner to talk. And I remember in high school, they were calling him Hasna. Hasna is the feminine name of Hassan, just to insult him. And when we became friends, I had to talk with him, and he was a little bit. It was strange that I was respecting him. Like, why you are talking with me, not like the others. So, like when I met him, and I understood. So of course he understood too. I remember he came one day to my home, like normal friend. And I remember my mother and everyone said, like, how do you have a friend like this? Yeah, it was bad. And after that he had a very trouble. And he was originally from another, like a very, very, very small town. And they took him there. Maybe they want to change him. So after that we didn't met again. I was just trying to find a way to go and not to come back and to not live in this kind of situation because you can breathe, but you cannot feel the oxygen when I was there. So for me, it was like that. I went to Turkey. It was for study. It was the best day of my life. And when I moved, I started to a little bit live my sexuality. The first thing that I searched on Google when I went to Turkey, it's dating guys. And the good thing, I can say that it's very a good thing that I wasn't that religious like my family because I met in my life Muslims, homosexual, and they can absolutely not accept themselves. And always praying. So I met a lot of this kind of guys in Turkey. For example, when we do, let's say, sex, okay, and after that, so why did I do this? And I wasn't like that because every year that I grow up and understand better the religion, it's not a sin or something that I will go to hell because I am from the Omlut lot. We say that in Quran, in the Muslims, okay, that homosexual. So after this, I realized that okay, they are wrong. It's not me. And I was explaining to all this kind of gays, Muslims that I met. Some of them they felt a lot comfortable that, and they saw that what I'm talking, that I'm speaking of, was logic. This best friend that I met in Turkey, we were at the same university. Maybe after 2 years of our friendship, she was always asking me, "We are not in our country. Why you don't have a girlfriend? Like, be free." So, so, I was looking at her. Oh, should I say no? Should I say no? But one day I say. She was very like wow at first, and she asked me a lot of questions like what do you feel, la, la, la. What do you feel when you see a girl, what do you feel, no, no, no. Like that kind of questions, because for her it was a new thing to meet one guy, because we are speaking exactly the same dialect, and she was like, okay, like one who is speaking like me came from a little bit same tradition like me is like this. Like it really exists. So I met a guy when I was in university, and I was in relation with that guy. And till that day, and my family didn't directly know that I am homosexual. When the things went wrong, went bad with my ex, and he was an Arabic guy, he know exactly how tradition in Arabic families, how the situation is, and like a little bit hurts me. It's not me that who made the coming out to my family. Is it's my ex, and since that day, like maybe 2 years ago, that I never talk till today with my family. The last sentence that I can remember from my mother, because I was talking to my mother, not my father that day. Like, I wish that you were not born, and like wish you to see you dead. And it was something like that. So I just switch off the phone and like continue to continue my life. And of course, at that time, I wasn't very strong psychologically, but it was like a box ring, when you take the shoot the box from the person in front of you, and you still resist. You see, psychologically, like I was like that, because I had always the motivation that okay, everything will be fine, everything will be better. Like I had my sister with me, like she was telling me that like you will be one day okay, don't bother yourself, etc. When I was at that time like 18 years old, I lost her, my sister, because of the traditions of the family. She got married, and like but it wasn't her choice, it was the family who chose. So when I moved after Turkey, I came to Portugal. I spent some months in Luxembourg. It's there who I met the wrong psychologist. It was an old man. The first, I will never forget him. He said to me like, "Is it like in your country? Is it like Iran, for example? There is a death penalty like for homosexual." I said, no, it's a crime, but you can go to jail. And he said to me, like, maybe the jail is good for you. So I just look at him like that, and I just went from that psychologist. And when I couldn't resist to that everything in my life, uh, I start to think about suicide, and I never think about it like seriously. I was thinking when I was in high school, for example, that sometimes I had that idea, but it wasn't that serious. I remember in that days, it was really serious, and I spent around 1 month and 1 week in psychiatric department to for my depression, and it was like the one of the good moments in my life that 1 month, because I met a lot of people and a lot of very good nurses that can understand you, that can be next to you. And like a little bit, I was discovering people who are good, and like you are not something wrong for them. Like that feeling when you feel and when you explain something, and you have the feeling that you are not the wrong person in the world, it's like the best feeling that can a human being can have. After that psychiatric department, I met one psychologist, and she was an old woman. Sometimes I talk with her till now, and she was like very kind. I don't know, she helped me a lot. And after in June, next last June, when I came back to Portugal, I start to have that kind of people too. For example, in CPF, like the psychologist, she wasn't my psychologist, but she was my friend. The thing that it was new is all people, all gays that I met, Portuguese, and they say, yeah, I like, okay, so I had an ex-boyfriend who's coming at home and blah, blah, blah. My mother, no. And for me, it was strange. Like to see, like it was what? Your family know that you are gay. A little bit, it was new, okay, but at the same time, good and calm, because I didn't till today when you say I am an asylum seeker or I am an homosexual. So I say that openly, and I didn't had a really bad like reaction. When you live with people that they are not toxic, that they are not, that they have a little bit same mindset, the area that you are living, it's the meaning of living in peaceful. Today I'm 24. I I had talents that I discovered in myself after these whole situations. For example, I can easily understand people. I can all people who have problems. And today also, for example, like not before, that when someone telling me that doesn't know me, for example, yeah, this girl, she's beautiful, and I can say easily, oh, I don't like girls, for example. and for before, like I didn't imagine one day that I will say this sentence easily, like to be openly and homosexual. In this all, let's say, journey of my life, uh, when I saw guys, I saw even guys who came from Middle East that I met in applications, in gay app, and when we talk, I saw and I understood that I wasn't the only one who really lived in this trouble. So in community or even family, what I want to do really, it's one day to make, I don't know, something for all homosexual in these all countries, because a homosexual from an open country, like Portugal, for example, or Europe in general, or the West countries, it's not really the same thing or the same, like, let's say, struggle that from Orient. And I wish one day to help this LGBT people. And maybe that I hope that they will not lose hope. It should not be one homosexual in this earth who should be sad. All homosexuals should be happy. All LGBTQ plus community. That's that.
Thank you for listening to Karim's story. This story was brought to you by Ambigular. We share the stories of people who are not often heard. Find out more about us on www.ambigular.org.